REAC meeting. Roll call, Steve.
Okay, Peg Zugaby.
Here.
Raj Amar.
Here.
Tim Riley.
Here.
Howard Hellman.
Here. 100% attendance.
Okay.
Eric's 8%.
Check that math.
I don't know if Eric knows his value is only 2%.
He'll be able to answer because maybe he's watching on YouTube.
Oh.
Okay. The first item is, this is a, just more of a correcting. About a month or so ago, we had approved a project for Northern Manor, was coming to us for mortgage recording tax exemption on a reinvestment and expansion of their facility. They were done under the IDA, it should have been REAC. We didn't they didn't tell us, quite frankly, until after the fact that they're a nonprofit. So this is just the same thing. We just need to amend it so it's a REAC project. There's no change to what we approved previously.
Okay. Any discussion? Somebody like to move the motion?
I'll move.
Second. Roll call?
Peg Zugaby.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
Okay. Authorizing resolution for the congregation, the girls' school. Dan, Ron, do you guys have anything you want to discuss about that, or?
No, this is just the authorizing resolution for the congregation pair, Ayaz Yakov. They came here last meeting. Yep, the girls' high school. And this is the authorizing resolution which authorizes the issuance of bonds and also the certain provisions of the straight lease transaction. And it's in front of you for your consideration. And also the various seeker findings by the planning board are in front of you as well. And while you're not making those findings yourself, you are recognizing that the seeker findings were made, and you are making a finding on behalf of your board that those findings were made and you're accepting those as well. So that's before you today as well.
I didn't think we had any open issues with that, right?
No, we didn't. You're thinking
I know you
of
talked about the elevator.
And they do have no.
Yeah, they do.
Right, yeah.
And we did have a public hearing. There was no attendees.
Yeah, no comment.
No comment, no public, no public comment. So, it's up to you guys if you want to authorize it.
Any other discussion?
I wasn't at the meeting where we would discuss this, but if there was nothing, no issue on it, I don't have a problem voting on it.
No.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'll move the question.
Second?
I'll second it.
Because she was.
Okay. Peg Zugaby.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
The next item is actually just, it's not a written document, it's just I need verbal approval on this. This is to authorize me to go ahead and sign an agreement with a new independent auditor. We had sent an RFP out in September to half a dozen firms. This firm that I'm recommending we approve it was the best response we got.
The only response.
Yeah. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep a straight face and do that the way I want. But anyway, with that said, it actually worked out fine. I can't speak to those firms that didn't respond, but this firm is very well regarded. They have been recommended. The compliance consultants we use with Harris Beach are very familiar with them. Kind of gave them kind of a 2 thumbs up that they're terrific. So if the board is okay with this, we will, authorize you just a verbal, authorize a motion, to go ahead and enter into an agreement with them.
Just a quick question, do they have other experiences
Yes.
with these frameworks?
Absolutely, and that was one of the key factors. They're, they're very familiar with. They do other IDAs, so they're very experienced in this.
All right. Motion? I make a move. Peggy?
Second.
There we go. Roll call?
Okay, Peg Zugaby,
Yes,
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Tim Riley,
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor. I don't have any new business. I don't have any old business. We have our treasurer's report. There's really just routine.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I skipped a couple of things. Did you want to say something or?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. If we want to talk about the labor thing, we'll do that at the IDA.
Yeah, that's fine.
And the same thing, you don't mind, we did talk about T-bills, we'll discuss that, the IDA rather than twice, okay, so those are things that, we'll consider, but they kind of encompass REAC as well. So the financial report,
The T-bills, it's just 0.24%. I think you're getting a lot more now, right, for the T-bills?
yeah, I think what was the most recent, 6?
Yeah.
Well, that was for the I-bills, the I-bonds.
Oh,
The I-bonds.
Yeah, they're like 6.89 till April, but that's kind of.
I think the I-bonds, correct me if I'm wrong, only can be bought in lots of 10,000 and only individually.
Yeah, and you have to like go to auction, it seems like a lot of.
But I think T-bills are definitely a lot more than
Oh,
where
yeah.
we are today.
oh, yeah,
So,
it was 3%.
yeah, if you do 6 months or a year, the year gives you a lot more. I think you're almost at 5 and above, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, I just rolled over some CDs, banks are giving 3% interest rates these
Yeah.
days. With 7 months and 13.
7 months and 13 months, okay. I think the T-bill is on 6 months and a year.
Let's do this. Let's kind of wait until we get to the
Yeah,
IDA
with-
meeting and
with
then
the
we'll
money.
talk about it.
Right, okay.
All right, so we have financial report for October, there was really nothing.
Yeah.
We need a motion to.
Oh, they're all here, sorry, there was.
I don't have it. Oh, that one.
It's just a normal bill.
Yeah, there was just, the usual handful of bills, nothing.
We need a motion to accept those report? Okay. Thank you. On a motion? Raj, second?
Yes. We should make a motion.
Okay. Okay. I think you could just do it like this, everybody, all in favor.
Aye.
And that's it for REAC.
Let's move back to minutes.
Came to order at 9 a.m. There was a consideration of inducement authorizing resolution for Northern Manor. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar, all in favor. Authorizing resolution for the congregation Garabish Yakov. Reported that there was a public hearing held, there was no public comment. With no further discussion, the board, motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar, all in favor. Executive Director reported on the RFP for an independent auditor, noting that he's recommending that the auditors, the RDT, and following discussion, motion was made by Raj Amar, seconded by Peg Zugaby to authorizing the Executive Director to enter into an agreement with the auditors, the independent audit. Board reviewed the financial report. Motion by Peg Zugaby, seconded by Raj Amar to accept the report. All in favor? Thank you. I'll make a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Approved. We are adjourned.
Okay. Anybody want any more coffee or anything before we go right into it?
We can do, so we call the IDA meeting to order and do the roll call.
Okay. Peg Zugaby.
Here.
Raj Amar.
Here.
Tim Riley.
Still here.
Howard Hellman.
Here.
Okay. The first matter, the inducement resolution for Safe Harbor Marina. They were planning on coming in, but they did, we did talk to them earlier this week, and they said that there are some items they're working through, and they asked if we could push this off until the January meeting, so when they do come before us, they'll know that the outstanding issues are resolved. So there's no action on that. The authorizing resolution, as we said, with REAC, this is the same firm, same circumstances. there's any discussion or board want to make a motion to authorize us to enter into an agreement with that, with the IDA as well.
Someone like to make that motion?
So,
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, roll call.
All right, Peg Zugby,
yes,
Tim Riley. Yeah. Raj Amar.
Yes.
Howard Hellman. Okay.
Our guest is here.
Yes. Dan, is there anything you'd like to address the board on, or?
No, I just came to meet with you afterward. We're trying to get, we're trying to get that Valley College deal closed.
Yes. Okay. As an aside, I won't go into length on it. I did have a conversation with the school superintendent as well. So,
That's what I understand. Thank you.
yeah, and I'll be talking, their attorney is going to be calling me with some questions, and I'll deal with that. If there's anything I need to involve you in, I'll grab you right away.
Do you know who represent them?
Judge Siebert.
Oh, so Keenan Bean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You know Judge?
Yeah, I know him.
Okay. And he's very familiar with IDAs and pilots. We've worked, represents a number of school districts. We've known Judge for years. We've worked with him well. So,
Yeah, I see them on the other side of tax their deals, so I know that they.
Check, I'm just catching up with mine. Okay. The low-key Brill labor reports. Sorry, before we move on, Dan, go ahead.
The few meetings back, maybe it was last meeting, the board did adopt an inducement resolution for the Rockland Gardens project, and it was in the standard form that all the inducement resolutions are prepared. However, in recent weeks or months, the Internal Revenue Service has started to review the way reimbursement language is being used in various resolutions to allow issuers of private activity bonds to allow for instance, like Rockland Gardens, to be able to use tax exempt bonds to reimburse for expenses that are used, that are spent prior to the issuance of bonds. So what I'd like to suggest that the board do is amend the inducement resolution that was adopted, just to put in some language to make it clear that Rockland Gardens can reimburse with tax exempt bonds any expenses they may have prior to the issuance of the bonds. Just so you know that the language that I'm about to introduce or to suggest to you was part of the resolution you adopted today for the congregation. Again, this is kind of new language, so that's why we're bringing it up for Rockland Gardens. In the Rockland Gardens inducement resolution, section 2 read, the agency hereby authorizes, and I've given a copy, or we'll give a copy to Heidi. The agency hereby authorizes the applicant to proceed with the project as herein authorized, which project may be financed through the issuance of bonds of the agency, and here's the new language, to finance a portion of the cost of the project, including reimbursement of the applicant for a portion of said costs, which bonds will be special obligations of the agency payable solely from revenues and other amounts derived pursuant to a lease of the project. So it's really just adding language in there saying reimbursement, and it's kind of new, so it's kind of a belt and suspenders type of language that would protect the agency in case there's any audit in the future. It's language that the IRS is focusing on. We've seen throughout the country. We just think it's practice to include it. So I'll just throw it out there as a suggestion. If the board wants to see it in better form than today, I guess it wouldn't harm to put it on the 14th agenda. But
I would suggest unless anybody has any objections, if it's not time sensitive, we prepare the proposal,
Okay, sure.
Send it out to the board
All right.
for review, and then we can have it on the agenda for next month.
not a problem. Yeah, I can get that.
can I just ask why we're just doing this one and not, this one was previously approved?
Yeah.
Why only go back to that one? Why are you just going back to that one and not going?
Well, there's no other active projects where the bonds haven't been issued yet,
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the only one that would fall under that.
except for the congregation pair Baez Yakov,
So those
which
are
you
the only-
adopted today, which already has this language in it.
So since the IRS ruling, those are.
Well, it's not really a ruling, it's more of a interpretation, yeah.
Okay,
So that's really, these are the only two projects
so
where,
nobody else could come back to us.
I mean, No, I mean, there's really, these are the only two that we worked on that.
Okay.
We haven't done that many bonds.
No.
That's,
No, we don't do a lot of
Yeah.
bonds, no.
Yeah, so these
the last
really-
couple of months, we haven't done that many.
And it's really a best practices thing, really.
Okay.
So I'll get it to Steve and to Heidi for the next meeting. Not a problem. Just
But
make
then
it-
going forward, that would be a part of the.
Oh, yes, for going forward, for everyone going forward.
So what this does is it gives them the ability to use the bonds for money that's already spent.
Yes,
But only starting on the date that this resolution was adopted.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
They can go backwards a little bit,
About
but not a
60
lot.
days, yeah. All right.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're going to, so what we'll have a more formal resolution that the board will review and more formally act upon. So, moving on to new business, Low Key Grill. As we're all aware, they, give us a monthly report. So right now, they're still working on Manhattan beer. And if you kind of go to the last page of that report, you'll see, it kind of gives a summary of it. We've got, 227 people there, 219 were compliant, no exceptions. Of the 227 workers, 8 were non-compliant. So I guess they were either not state residents or they couldn't provide documentation, and Low Key Grill will follow up on that accordingly.
They're way above the 80% anyway,
So it's not really.
they are compliant, but they're not.
Not 100%.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're very good, they're
Exactly
very,
what we wanted.
very responsive.
And the cost is on the package.
Yeah, doesn't cost.
It's on the.
It's a-
on the applicant.
Applicant.
How we set it up, just so everyone's knowing, it's really just a pass through. Low Key Grill invoices us, we in turn attach that, we invoice Manhattan Beer in this case, and say, here's the report, here's the invoice, you owe us X number of dollars. They reimburse us, and it's kind of in and out. We get the money in and we send it right over to Low Key Grill. So, and that will, and earlier this week, in fact, Kevin Kramsey, our bookkeeper, came in. We talked to Heidi and Kevin, and I talked about just how do we manage that as a separate. I want to keep that separate from our normal cost of doing business bills and our budget, even though it's a neutral transaction, because but we're going to account for that separately. Okay. I don't have any old business unless.
Anybody else have any old business, any new business? Think it worth your while to drive here? Extra bagel for the road.
Okay, and then,
Okay, now we can do the finance report.
right, same thing, just kind of,
We did circulate.
Yeah, we do have it now.
So-
And on the first page, you had, on the bottom is the Low Key Grill.
that's the check we write to them.
Right.
And Beer sends a check into us.
What's our recourse at the end of a project? I guess we could just go after them. Okay. Somebody that,
And I'll defer to the attorneys, but as part of our closing agreements, they
right,
have a
that's, I
policy
mean,
compliant.
yeah, we could always pull back their benefits.
Is it fair to say it's another default condition if they were not,
Exactly.
just like if they didn't pay us, or they didn't pay our councils, or they didn't do something they were obligated to do?
Now, do you take the entire benefit away from them if, let's say, you're saying 80% is
Good.
the benchmark, right?
You absolutely could.
Okay.
The point is, Raj, at that point, I'm sure it's not gonna be under $5,000. So I think the threat alone will be enough, depending on the size of the benefit, like,
And the board has, go ahead.
if that happens, we're thinking worst case scenario here. Chances are everybody's gonna pay and everything will be fine.
Again, low key, they have, they said, by the way, just as an aside, they said Manhattan Beer has been a pleasure to work with. But let's say, for argument's sake, that a company wasn't a pleasure to work
Any products?
with.
We're being recorded. I would have said that a year ago.
But they have, for example, Jim Loki calls it like his 3-strike rule. They reach out to him, they said, we need this report. You don't give it to us, okay, we need it, if it reaches a point where in his end of things, he calls it the 3 strikes, where they're just not responsive. Then he notifies us, and I'll get involved. If I have to get attorneys involved. The worst case scenario is if somebody's just stonewalling us, then we can initiate some default elements, and then that typically, I think, correct me if I'm mistaken, but the board, we'd call them in. They would have to respond. They'd have to the board's satisfaction. The board would do everything from take no action to considering some action or recapture. I mean, there's a, it has teeth, just like a recapture.
What's the process? So we induce somebody, they now start construction. They don't tell us that they've started construction. Is there something set up that they have to notify us?
Yes, there's a good question. As soon as we induce somebody, I send the inducement and the application to Lokebro. They reach out to them immediately and meet with them sometimes, and I've participated in a few of those meetings as well. To get a sense of the timing of it, they go out, they do an immediate inspection. I mean, they're all over it.
So just because we live in the village of Suffern, the project that we induced on Washington Avenue.
I was just gonna ask,
started about 2 months ago. I don't see any.
is that covered by this?
They're not subject to the labor
Yeah,
policy.
they were done before the labor policy. Okay.
So, yeah, that labor policy went into effect April 1st.
And they've been out
So
there for a while.
now we're going to be closing on projects where they were induced and authorized and closed. So you'll start to see this labor policy report will start to ramp up.
Great.
Safe Harbor never got back with any of our answers. have
They did.
Are they gonna wait? and
Yeah, they
decide?
asked if they could table it until January.
Their council.
And I did get confirmation. I mean, the town has responded directly to us endorsing the project. I mean,
Okay.
so there's
Okay.
actions taken.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
Not yet, easy does it.
Okay. Any questions about the financial report?
So you want to talk about the CDs?
Yeah.
T-bills?
Yeah, now we'll talk about the CDs. We did I skip over we did do the auditors, right?
Yeah, we did that.
My apologies, okay.
You want to do it again, third time?
No, we're really authorizing it. Triple dog authorizing. All right, that's, so the CD treasury, so we did, looked into it. Right now, all of our CDs are managed downstairs by Orange Bank. And we pull out money as we need it, but we have enough in the bank, so typically we're just rolling them over, and there's not a great return on CDs, as we all know. So it's up to the
Just a
board.
point of information. I do a lot of business with Orange Bank and Trust, I love them dearly, but their CD rates aren't the best in town. So just as an FYI.
So obviously I'll defer to I mean, the board, one of the things that I know when we put the CDs to them was, it was based on our, based on the investment policy that we have. And our investment policy is, and I just printed out the one page that's relevant, and this is a priority order. First and foremost, the most important element of our any investment is safety and the preservation of principal. That anything that could potentially cost us money, that we could lose money on, we shouldn't do, if you read this policy. Second, the next step down in priority is liquidity, be able to cash it out if we need to. And third and least important is any return on investment. In other words, making money on the money. That's the third, so that doesn't mean T-bill. I'm not suggesting that T-bills are bad. So I'm just saying, if you keep in mind, that's why, for example, we don't put our money into a variety of other, venues that we could. We're just limited.
And
So
the reason, why are we limited? Why would we?
New York State statute requires. This isn't us. This is the state's mandate.
And T-bills are not a part of it?
No. I'm just saying. I'm just reiterating. Like, we put them into CDs because we said, okay, because we looked at investments and other things. This was a number of years ago. And we kind of said, okay, based on that, let's just tuck them away into something safe that really addresses that first priority. They're safe. They're, they can be, we make them liquid easily. But if we want to do something a little more aggressive, T-bills certainly, I don't think are a risky
We should really
endeavor.
look into further because.
Well, what I think is when we did this originally, T-bills weren't,
Correct.
but here we are.
Yeah.
So I know we have one that's due next month.
Mhm.
Let's roll it into T-bills.
What's the amount? It's-
$1,955,154.32
that.
or 52 cents.
You can do, 6 months or a year.
Now, I would push it out, get the best rate a year, because,
And I believe that the rate may come down a little bit, so you better off to have it now.
right, and not to give money away, financially, we're very comfortable. It's not to say we don't want to make money. So I would say make it a year with a T-bill. We don't need the money, so to speak.
Right.
And get a better rate.
Okay. This
So
board,
why don't we motion that just to memorialize it?
okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, who made the second?
Raj.
Oh, Raj, okay. Okay, Peg Zugaby,
Yes,
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna take, this most recent one, we're gonna convert it over to a T-bill
Right.
for 1 year.
Yeah, and that goes next month.
Okay.
And then, as the others mature, there's two options. It's no big deal. We just gotta make sure we have enough working capital for a year, year and a half, which is not a problem. And then as they mature, let's sit down and evaluate. Like this one's coming due next month. Let's move it, and we'll see where we're at.
And I like that, as they come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have certainly have, given the fact that this is a public meeting, I'm not going to go into specific what we have in individual bank accounts, but we have plenty as far as our operational costs annually. So we have that money can go into, we're not going to just, and I don't anticipate, unless the board feels differently, that we're going to be a circumstance where we need lots of cash fast. We're not the kind of IDA that does investments in properties and things like, we don't give loans, so, Okay.
What's the board's feelings that right now in our operating checking account, correct me if I'm
I was
wrong,
just looking at the
we have
exact same thing.
Well-
three.
that's from, right, those are all fees generated this year. That would be the money I'd like to grab and throw right into a T-bill.
So what is our expenses for the year?
Peanuts.
No, like what, half of
Not even.
So why don't we
Two,
throw in
300,000.
another
Right.
500,000 in
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
So the million, make it 1.5 and move it
Okay.
into a T-bill.
Okay.
Is that,
That's exactly what I was looking at, so like how much we have.
Yeah.
Working capital.
Yeah,
And
it's
that
putting some
covers-
money on it, right?
That's salaries,
I would
benefits,
just like
cost
to
to this office.
suggest, so with a T-bill, if you have to pull the money, there's depending on where the interest rates are and the economy and such, that I don't think we would fall short if we had to cash it in. So that said, do we want to put away more than just $500,000 out of our account? That leaves us with $800,000. It's a lot of money.
And the other thing is, I don't know if Tim and you guys agree, Peggy, you guys recommend, maybe you can do 2 T-bills.
Yeah.
Right? One for the $1 million or 1.15, and then do the other 300, just in case if you have to default on that and pull it out because you need the money, which I don't think we anticipate to do that.
Great point.
You know,
How about, we're gonna be meeting in 2 weeks, that Wednesday. And that's gonna be a relatively quick meeting with a couple of housekeeping items, which I would say this is obviously one of them. How about in the interim, Tim, if everyone's available, Tim, you and I and Heidi will sit down. We'll put a specific game plan together as far as here's what we're gonna do. We'll lay it out in easy writing for everybody and we'll give it a blessing and we'll just do it.
Because roughly our expenses are about $300,000 a year, give or take,
Yeah, they're
in
about
that general area. Usually it's not much more than that. So what you're saying, Raj, makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
And based on what we have in the pipeline,
Yeah.
that number is only going to go up.
Exactly, every year. It's,
Right.
that's,
Not the 300,000, it's gonna go.
No, no,
up.
yeah, but
It
the-
comes
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Right.
so maybe we can do one for 1.5 and the other, if you say 300,000, we can do 250, just leave the extra 50,000 in there for now.
Yeah.
And keep that on a 6 month.
Yeah.
And then renew it every 6 months.
That's
Okay,
easy to do.
we'll put something together in 2 weeks, we'll sit down and do it.
Okay.
But we, generally speaking, we know where we're going, you know, just a matter of putting numbers in.
Okay. Um, That's all I've got. Does anybody have anything else?
I just had a question. Normally, one of the last meetings of the year, we go into executive session to discuss your package and such. We have that meeting in 2 weeks, but right after the meeting, you've invited folks here for a little holiday celebration. So is now the right time to do that?
If the board, I mean, if you'd like to discuss
It's a
that.
great
now,
idea, Howard, let's clean it up now.
If you'd like to do that, it's funny you said, it actually occurred to me that, I know that meeting in 2 weeks is really kind of gonna be, the intent was to be a quick, easy meeting. If you'd like to do that now, we can go into executive session.
Okay, so if somebody
I'll
wants to
make that motion.
go into executive session for.
Yeah, payroll.
Yeah.
Payroll, yeah, personnel issues.
Personnel issues. Right. Okay. Second on that?
Lena,
Okay,
hold on, before we leave, you guys are more than welcome to stick around. My point being, we're done, right?
We're done. So you guys-
we're done after this, so you guys can blast off if you want.
Don't take all of
You can turn that off.
We want to get together though, right?
And you can log it out. We're done,
it.